Have you ever noticed that the loudest people rarely build the strongest lives? What if everything you were taught about announcing your goals is secretly sabotaging your future? Right now, somewhere, a person with less talent than you is winning simply because they understand one dangerous truth: power grows in silence. And once you see it, you will never move the same way again. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Why do we feel the urge to tell everyone what we are about to do before we have done anything at all? Why do we chase applause before effort, recognition before discipline, attention before mastery? Here is the shocking part. Every time you broadcast your next move, your brain rewards you as if you already achieved it. The dopamine hits, the ego expands, and the hunger quietly disappears. You celebrate too early, and winners never celebrate too early. They disappear. While others talk, they train. While others post, they prepare. While others seek validation, they build a version of themselves that no opinion can shake. Imagine two people starting the same journey today. One announces it to the world, collects compliments, and feels important for a moment. The other tells no one. Months pass. The first loses momentum when the excitement fades. The second becomes unstoppable because their motivation was never rented from the crowd. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Silence protects focus. Silence starves distraction. Silence turns small daily actions into massive private victories. And the most terrifying thing about a silent person is that you never see the breakthrough coming. Think about the calmest person you know. The one who does not argue, does not brag, does not rush to prove anything. Then one day they rise, promotion earned, business launched, body transformed, confidence unshakable. You wonder when it happened. It happened in the quiet hours nobody applauds. So here is the decision that will change your life in 2025. Stop announcing, start executing. Move like a shadow. Let your results introduce you. Because when success speaks for you, it speaks louder than any declaration ever could. From this moment forward, ask yourself a different question before you share your plans. Am I looking for approval, or am I committed to growth? The future belongs to those who can endure the loneliness of discipline. Can you work when nobody is watching, improve when nobody is praising, and persist when nobody is believing? If you can, you will not just change your year, you will redefine who you are. Start today, quietly. No announcements, only action. Watch. Most people misunderstand silence. They think it means hiding, shrinking, or lacking confidence. But real silence is none of those things. Silence is controlled power. It is knowing exactly where you are going and refusing to let noise interfere with your direction. Let me challenge you with another question. Why is it that every time you begin something meaningful, distractions suddenly multiply? Messages, opinions, invitations, criticism, even doubt from people who have never attempted what you are attempting. The moment you speak your vision out loud, you unintentionally invite interference. Not always because people want you to fail, but because most people project their own fears onto dreams they do not understand. When you move in silence, you remove that interference before it ever touches your momentum. Look at the greatest builders, creators, and leaders. Their early days were not filled with announcements. They were filled with repetition, quiet mornings, long nights, boring discipline. There is nothing glamorous about showing up every single day when nobody is impressed. Yet that is exactly where transformation lies. Here is something most people never realize: attention is expensive. Every time you explain your plan, defend your decision, or respond to skepticism, you spend emotional energy. That energy should have been invested in progress. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways your future does. There is a reason seeds grow underground. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it is working. You would destroy the very thing you are trying to grow. Your goals operate the same way. Constant exposure kills fragile progress. Instead, adopt the discipline of privacy. Work until your confidence is internal, not dependent. Build habits so strong that applause becomes irrelevant. Because the truth is, when you need people to believe in you before you believe in yourself, you give them control over your persistence. And control is the one thing you must never surrender. Understand this clearly: not everyone deserves access to your becoming. Some people are meant to witness the result, not the process. The process is sacred. It is where your identity is rewritten. There will be days when silence feels lonely, days when you want to tell someone how hard you are working, days when progress feels invisible. Good. Invisible progress is still progress. In fact, it is often the most powerful kind because it is driven by purpose rather than praise. So train yourself to become comfortable with being underestimated. There is a hidden advantage in it. When nobody expects much from you, you gain the freedom to grow without pressure. No spotlight, no performance, just evolution. And one day, the same people who overlooked you will try to understand how you changed so much. They will call it sudden. You will know it was silent. Let me tell you something that may completely shift the way you see your life. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you reclaim your power. Because constantly explaining your goals is often a hidden form of seeking permission. And greatness has never required permission. Why do lions move so quietly in the wild? Not because they lack strength, but because they understand timing. Noise scares opportunity away. Precision requires patience. And when the moment arrives, the strike looks effortless, but only because nobody witnessed the discipline behind it. Your life works the same way. There is a dangerous habit that keeps people average, confusing activity with achievement. Talking about what you will do feels productive. Planning publicly feels responsible. But movement without execution is just theater. The world does not reward intention, it rewards evidence. Ask yourself honestly, how many dreams have you diluted by talking about them too soon? When you expose a goal prematurely, you invite 3 silent enemies into your mind. The first is doubt. Someone raises an eyebrow, asks a careless question, or laughs slightly, and suddenly you begin negotiating with your own vision. The second is comparison. Now you are measuring your chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 20. The third is pressure. Instead of growing naturally, you perform for expectations. This is why silent movers progress faster. Their only competition is yesterday's version of themselves. Picture an archer pulling back a bow. The arrow moves backward before it launches forward. To an untrained eye, it might look like retreat. But that tension creates unstoppable force. Your quiet season is not regression, it is preparation. Stop panicking when life gets quiet. Stop assuming that lack of recognition means lack of progress. Some of the most powerful chapters of your life will look unimpressive from the outside. Understand this deeply: visibility is not a requirement for value. Many people are addicted to being seen. But the people who truly transform become comfortable being unseen. They fall in love with improvement nobody claps for. Can you do that? Can you keep showing up when there is no immediate reward? Because here is the secret. Confidence is not built when everyone is cheering. Confidence is built when you keep promises to yourself in private. Every early workout no one knows about, every skill practiced when others are sleeping, every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are casting votes for the person you are becoming. And eventually those private votes create a public identity that cannot be ignored. People will see the strength, but never fully understand where it was forged. That is the beauty of moving in silence. The process belongs entirely to you. But let us go deeper, because silence is not just about what you do not say. It is about what you refuse to entertain. There will always be noise. Opinions are everywhere. Some will question your path. Some will misunderstand your distance. Others may even feel uncomfortable watching you outgrow the version of yourself they were familiar with. Growth changes dynamics, and not everyone applauds change. You must decide early whose voice earns space in your mind. Because here is a truth that can protect your future. Every voice you listen to is shaping you. If you absorb too many outside perspectives, you slowly lose the sound of your own inner direction. And once that happens, you begin living a life designed by consensus rather than conviction. Silent movers are selective listeners. They do not react to every comment. They do not defend every decision. They do not interrupt their momentum just to be understood. Not everyone needs to understand you. Think about a plane preparing for takeoff. While it is gaining speed on the runway, it does not stop to ask the ground for approval. It commits fully to acceleration. And once it lifts, the noise below fades into distance. Your acceleration requires the same commitment. There is also another layer to silence that most people overlook: emotional discipline. It is easy to stay quiet when things are going well. The real test comes when you are frustrated, when progress feels slow, when rejection stings, when effort goes unnoticed. In those moments, the urge to vent, complain, or announce your struggles becomes strong. But constant emotional exposure drains resilience. Every time you broadcast your hardship, you reopen the wound instead of strengthening the muscle. Strength matures in composure. This does not mean you never seek guidance. Wisdom often grows through mentorship and trusted counsel, but there is a difference between intentional sharing and uncontrolled spilling. Choose a small circle that elevates you, not an audience that consumes you. Remember, privacy is not secrecy born from fear, it is protection born from self-respect. And as you continue this quiet journey, something unexpected begins to happen. Your tolerance for distraction drops. Drama loses its appeal. Petty arguments feel heavy. The need to prove yourself slowly dissolves. Why? Because when you are deeply focused on building your future, you realize something powerful. Your life becomes lighter when you stop carrying conversations that were never meant for your destination. So conserve your words. Direct your energy forward. Let patience stretch your endurance. Because the strongest transformations are rarely loud, they are deliberate, steady, and almost invisible until the day they become undeniable. Let me reveal a paradox that separates those who merely dream from those who transform. The more focused you become, the fewer people will understand your life. And that is not a warning, it is confirmation that you are evolving. At some point, you must make peace with being misunderstood. Because when your priorities change, when your habits change, your availability changes. And when your availability changes, people begin to notice your absence before they recognize your growth. Do not mistake their confusion for a signal to shrink. It is often proof that you are no longer operating at the frequency of your former self. Growth requires strategic distance. Look at your day honestly. Every hour is either building your future or feeding your distractions. There is no neutral time. Yet most people surrender their hours too cheaply, scrolling without intention, engaging in conversations that add no direction, attending things that drain more than they develop. Silent movers treat time differently. They respect it. They understand that every no they say is protecting a bigger yes they are constructing quietly. This is where discipline becomes your shield. Not loud discipline that seeks admiration, but invisible discipline that becomes part of your identity. The kind where you do what needs to be done whether you feel inspired or not. Feelings are temporary. Structure is reliable. Imagine waking up each day already knowing the standard you refuse to drop below. No negotiations with comfort. No endless internal debates. Just execution. Over time, this removes chaos from your life. Decision fatigue fades because you are no longer asking, do I feel like it? You are simply honoring the person you decided to become. And here is something powerful. Consistency in private creates certainty in public. People often believe confidence comes from personality. It does not. Real confidence is evidence-based. It is the natural result of repeatedly proving to yourself that you can be trusted. Every kept promise becomes a brick. Stack enough bricks, and you build an unshakable foundation. But understand this clearly: the path will test you. There will be mornings when motivation is nowhere to be found, nights when progress feels microscopic, moments when shortcuts whisper your name. In those moments, remember why silent growth matters, because it builds depth, not just display. Anyone can show highlights, few develop substance. So ask yourself a harder question now. Are you interested in appearing successful or becoming formidable? Because those are two very different pursuits. One chases attention, the other commands respect without asking for it. Choose depth over display. As you continue moving quietly, you may notice another shift. Your patience expands. You stop rushing timelines. You stop comparing journeys. You begin trusting the rhythm of steady improvement. And when patience and discipline start working together, something dangerous forms within you: quiet momentum. Quiet momentum is one of the most unstoppable forces you will ever experience because it does not depend on mood, approval, or perfect conditions. It grows slowly, almost invisibly, until one day even you are surprised by how far you have traveled. Most people wait for motivation to begin. Silent movers begin, and motivation eventually follows. Action creates clarity. Action builds belief. Action eliminates the imaginary fears that only exist when you stand still. But here is where many people sabotage themselves. They underestimate the power of small, repeated effort. We live in a world addicted to dramatic change. Overnight success, instant transformation, viral breakthroughs. Yet the strongest lives are not built in explosive moments, they're engineered through quiet repetition. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop looks insignificant. 10 drops look forgettable. But thousands of drops over time carve through rock. Persistence does what intensity alone never could. So stop disrespecting small progress. Every focused hour, every disciplined choice, every time you continue instead of quitting, you are reshaping your future in ways the present cannot yet reveal. There is also a mental shift that happens when you commit to silent growth. You stop needing constant reassurance. Early in the journey, it is natural to wonder, is this working? But as evidence accumulates through your daily actions, doubt loses its voice. You do not need to announce your direction when you are busy walking it. And let me prepare you for something important. The middle phase of transformation is the hardest. Not the beginning, where excitement carries you. Not the breakthrough, where results energize you. The middle is where nothing looks different, yet everything is changing. This is where most people turn back. Why? Because the human mind craves visible reward. When effort is not immediately validated, it whispers that maybe the path is wrong. But silent movers understand a powerful principle. Just because you cannot see the growth does not mean the roots are not deepening. Consider the bamboo tree. For years, it appears as if nothing is happening above the soil. But beneath the surface, an extensive root system is forming, strong enough to support explosive height later. Then suddenly, in a short span, it rises dramatically. To the outside world, it looks instant. In reality, it was patient preparation. Your life will have bamboo seasons. Do not abandon them. Instead, anchor yourself to a standard that does not fluctuate with emotion. Show up especially when it feels repetitive. Greatness often hides inside routines that look ordinary. And remember this: boredom is not a sign you are on the wrong path. Very often, boredom is the environment where mastery is quietly being assembled. There comes a moment in every quiet journey where temptation returns wearing a familiar mask. It asks you to speed up, to show something, to prove that your effort is not being wasted. This is the moment where silence is tested, not celebrated. Because deep down, humans crave acknowledgement. You want someone to notice the discipline. You want someone to validate the sacrifice. You want reassurance that you are not walking alone. But this is exactly where most people break their momentum. They trade long-term power for short-term comfort. Here is the hard truth: the need to be seen can make you visible too early, and visibility before readiness is dangerous. It exposes unfinished strength to criticism it was not built to carry yet. Silence buys you time. Time to strengthen, time to refine, time to become undeniable. Think of a sword being forged. If it is pulled from the fire too early, it looks impressive but shatters on impact. Only repeated heating, hammering, and cooling creates something unbreakable. The process is violent, unseen, and uncomfortable, but the result lasts. Your character is forged the same way. Every time you resist the urge to announce progress, you build restraint. Every time you continue without praise, you build resilience. Every time you stay focused while others are distracted, you build leverage. And leverage changes everything. There is another shift that happens when you commit to moving in silence. Your standards rise. You stop being impressed by talk, including your own. You no longer measure your days by intention, but by output, by alignment. By execution, you begin asking better questions. Did I improve today? Did I honor my discipline? Did I move closer to the life I am designing? These questions keep you grounded when emotions fluctuate. And emotions will fluctuate. There will be days when you feel powerful and days when you feel invisible. Silent movers accept both without overreacting. They do not get arrogant on good days or defeated on quiet ones. They stay steady. And steadiness compounds. Understand this consistency is not exciting, but it is rare, and rarity creates value. Most people cannot stay with anything long enough for it to reveal its true potential. They quit when novelty fades. They pivot when patience is required. They look for signs instead of building certainty. You are choosing a different path, a path where progress is measured internally, a path where confidence is earned, not borrowed, a path where results arrive without warning. One day, people will ask how you did it, how you changed so much, how you became so focused, so disciplined, so calm. You will smile because you will know the answer is simple but difficult. You stopped explaining, you started executing, you trusted silence to do its work, and by the time your success becomes visible, your identity will already be unshakable. Now let's talk about a level of silence that very few people ever reach: mental silence. Because it is one thing to quiet your mouth, but it is another thing entirely to quiet the chaos inside your mind. External noise is easy to recognize. Opinions, criticism, distractions, you can see them. But internal noise is more dangerous because it sounds like your own voice. It shows up as overthinking, second-guessing, replaying past mistakes, worrying about outcomes you cannot control. And if you are not careful, your own thoughts can become the loudest distraction in your life. Silent movers train their minds the same way athletes train their bodies. They do not believe every thought that appears. They observe it, question it, and then return their focus to what actually moves their life forward. Let me challenge you with something transformative. You do not need more confidence to begin. You need more courage to act despite uncertainty. Confidence is often the result, not the requirement. Most people delay their growth while waiting to feel ready. But readiness is a myth. Nobody feels fully prepared to step into a bigger version of themselves. There will always be unknowns. There will always be risk. There will always be a voice asking, what if this fails? Ask a better question, what if you do not try? Consider how many lives remain small not because of lack of talent, but because of hesitation. Hesitation disguises itself as caution, but often it is just fear seeking comfort. When you move in silence, you reduce the space fear has to perform. You stop narrating every step. You stop dramatizing every obstacle. Instead, you handle challenges privately and grow stronger because of it. There is incredible power in becoming emotionally self-sufficient. This does not mean you isolate yourself from the world. It means you stop depending on constant reassurance to continue. You become your own source of stability. When setbacks happen, and you recover faster because your foundation is internal. Picture the ocean. On the surface, waves crash, winds howl, storms pass through. But deep below, there's calm, steady, unmoved water. Your goal is not to eliminate life's storms. It is to develop that depth. Depth creates composure. Composure sharpens judgment. Sharp judgment protects your direction, and direction is everything. Without it, effort scatters. With it, even slow steps carry you somewhere meaningful. So begin practicing intentional focus. When you work, be fully there. When you learn, absorb deeply. When you rest, rest without guilt. Fragmented attention produces fragile results, but concentrated attention builds mastery faster than most people think possible. You will notice that as your mind becomes quieter, your intuition becomes clearer. Decisions that once felt overwhelming start feeling obvious. Because life got easier, but because you are no longer drowning in mental clutter. And here is the beautiful part. The quieter your mind becomes, the louder your progress starts to echo. The louder your progress starts to echo, the less you feel the need to talk about it. Something changes within you. A calm certainty replaces the restless urge to prove yourself. You no longer chase attention because you are too committed to expansion. This is the stage where your identity begins to solidify. Understand this clearly: success is not an event, it is a transformation of self. Long before the world recognizes your growth, you will feel it in the way you think, the way you respond, and the way you carry yourself. You react less. You observe more. You speak with intention. You move with clarity. And people notice even when you say nothing. There is a powerful psychological shift that happens when you stop announcing your life. You become harder to distract. Drama no longer hooks you. Temporary pleasures lose their grip. You begin protecting your peace because you finally understand its value. Peace is not weakness. Peace is control. Most people live in constant reaction mode. A message changes their mood. An opinion changes their direction. A setback destroys their confidence. But when you cultivate inner stillness, you stop handing your emotional remote control to the outside world. Let me ask you something important. How much of your energy has been wasted reacting to things that were never meant to define you? Silent movers reclaim that energy and reinvest it into creation. They build instead of arguing. They improve instead of comparing. They continue instead of complaining. And over time, this emotional discipline becomes visible as quiet confidence. Quiet confidence is different from arrogance. Arrogance needs witnesses. Confidence does not. It is steady, grounded, and patient. It does not rush into rooms demanding recognition. It walks in prepared. Think about the mountain. It does not announce its height. It does not compete with the sky. It simply stands unmoved by weather, seasons, or passing noise. That is the strength you are developing, presence without performance. But here's something you must prepare for. As your confidence grows, your circle may change. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Not everyone will be comfortable with your focus. Not everyone will celebrate your elevation. Do not interpret this as loss, it is alignment. When your life begins to reflect higher standards, everything that cannot meet those standards naturally falls away. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. You were never meant to carry everyone into your next chapter. So release the guilt that often accompanies growth. You are allowed to outgrow environments that once felt normal. You are allowed to choose depth over popularity. You are allowed to prioritize your future over temporary belonging. Because the moment you fully accept this truth is the moment you stop shrinking to fit spaces you have already outgrown. And when you stop shrinking, something extraordinary happens. You start expanding without fear. By now, you should understand the final, unshakable truth. Moving in silence is not about hiding your potential. It is about protecting it until it is unstoppable. It is about building a life so strong, so refined, so undeniable that when you finally step into the world, you do so with authority, not explanation. Think of it like a storm forming at sea. The waves gather quietly. The winds twist invisibly. No one notices the power beneath the surface. And then suddenly, without warning, the storm arrives, complete, uncontainable, and impossible to ignore. Your success works the same way. There is something deeply satisfying about living this way. Because while the world is busy seeking attention, approval, and applause, you are quietly amassing advantage. Every hour spent in focused effort, every choice made in private discipline, every temptation resisted, compounds into exponential growth. People may see glimpses of progress, but the full picture is yours alone, and that is your power. Remember, the loudest voices are rarely the strongest. Noise is often a mask for insecurity, impatience, or fear of being overlooked. But those who understand the value of silence operate differently. They are patient, they are precise, they are relentless in their preparation. And by the time they reveal their results, the world has no choice but to take notice. You will face challenges, doubt will creep in, impatience will knock, criticism will try to pierce your focus. But if you have mastered silence, these obstacles lose their ability to control you. Because when you are committed to internal progress rather than external validation, your momentum becomes immune to distraction. Let this guide your next steps. Stop announcing, stop explaining, stop performing for temporary applause. Start building, start learning, start growing in ways that cannot be undone. Let your actions speak for you. Let your results demand attention. And most importantly, let your discipline become the foundation of your identity. By the time the world realizes what you have accomplished, you will have already surpassed your own expectations. The journey will have shaped you into someone unshakable, someone confident, someone unstoppable. And all of it will happen quietly, privately, deliberately, because the most powerful victories are never broadcasted. So begin today. Move in silence, protect your energy, honor your process. Trust that every unseen effort, every invisible sacrifice, and every moment of private discipline is creating a future that will speak louder than any words ever could. The loudest triumphs are earned in silence. Your time is now. Your life is waiting. Step forward quietly, act decisively, and let the results redefine everything. You have arrived.